My assessment of the situation when I was arguing with a chatter where I said there is at least one credible firsthand witness testimony on sexual assault that took place, according to the UN investigation, and that sexual assault in moments of war and moments of crisis like this is actually fairly commonplace. Genuine question: why do people attack you instead of people like Ryan Grimm, Jeremy Scahill, The Intercept, Ken Kuppenstein, Democracy Now? All you do is relay what they're saying because they're not accessible content creators. You can't develop a parasocial hatred towards Jeremy Scahill unless he streamed all the time, in which case you probably could. It's fine though. I'll tank it. I mean, specifically in the drama sphere chatters, once again, because doing a YouTube drama video on Jeremy Scahill is not going to garner you millions of views. In the same way that if you're a coward, even though you're very obviously pro-Israel, but you're too cowardly to openly admit that, instead of saying that, what can you do? Disparage every pro-Palestinian voice. That way, you, in your mind, get to live the best of both worlds. You get to simultaneously say, I'm pro-Palestinian, guys, but these other pro-Palestinian voices, well, they're far too radical for me. Okay? When in fact, the ultimate goal there is for you to traffic your pro-Zionist opinions. And they oftentimes do come out. Okay? But that is the reality. And unfortunately, many liberals who are not exactly well equipped to understand foreign policy will go along with it because there are a lot of pre-established quote unquote truths. That's the way reactionary politics works. If you assume a reactionary role, you can basically just say, this is common sense. This guy is bad. For example, you can clip something out of context and then without ever making an argument as to why the argument that I'm presenting is wrong, you can just simply say, this is a bad guy. Look at this bad opinion. Asman watched a slop YouTuber on a smear video about you. That's where the journalist takes are coming from. They think journalists are all bad and he used them to prove you're credible. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that for well-read individuals, yes, the journalists that I work with and rely on are credible. And yeah, of course, credible journalists are not going to think I'm a bad person. Sometimes the takes aren't even, here, I'll give you another example. Sometimes the takes aren't even wrong. They're not incorrect, but you can basically just take a correct position, and as long as public consciousness is on the opposing side, turn around and say, look at how bad this opinion is. The greatest example I can give you is my statement on the sexual assaults that may or may not have happened on October 7, and the investigative reporting that was conducted that showed that the New York Times' claims that there was serialized rape happening that was directed by Hamas was completely false. There was no evidence whatsoever. Okay? So my assessment of the situation when I was arguing with a chatter where I said there is at least one credible firsthand witness testimony on sexual assault that took place, according to the UN investigation, and that sexual assault in moments of war and moments of crisis like this is actually fairly commonplace. So it's not all that erroneous to suspect that there could have been sexual assaults that took place on October 7. However, we don't have enough evidence to correctly identify how widespread this was. When I had that conversation with that person, where I was defending the likelihood of sexual assaults happening on October 7, I also said, regardless of whether sexual assaults happen on October 7 or not, does not change the dynamic for me in terms of the apartheid and in terms of the genocide that Israel is conducting. Okay? Rapes does not mean you can do a genocide on an entire group of people. And that's a very normal position to have. I think that if you were to ask people, can you genocide an entire group of people if you suspect some of them of doing rapes? Most people would probably say, oh, I don't know. I don't think that that's, I don't think that that's appropriate, right? That statement is objectively a morally correct position. And yet someone can clip that exactly as it is and turn around and say, oh, he's saying rape is resistance. He's saying this is the appropriate way to fight back against Israel. He loves it, okay? But the video in and of itself that you clipped out of context openly shows it's completely Unacceptable. Yeah, you can't genocide all Americans because of Abu Ghraib, for example. That would be ridiculous. So even when you show something within context, you can still massage it in a way where people will get upset because they don't understand it. But that's it. That's it. That's where a lot of this anger and resentment comes from, mostly because these issues are, I guess, morally uncomplicated, but can come across as very complicated and even traumatic for a lot of people. And therefore, it's much easier for someone to just be like, see, he's a bad guy. That's it. Anyway, the reason why I don't spend a whole bit of time talking about this over and over again is because it's almost always me having to rehash my positions over and over again to people that seemingly don't care about it. And it gets incredibly unproductive to hyper focus on it when the world is still continuing and bad things are continuing to happen, oftentimes escalating dramatically. Yeah. So yeah, let's continue. I got a reply on Twitter the other day saying exactly what you just said, using the term he's denying it and excusing the yeah, it's idiotic. But that's why I always tell you, like, you can correct the record, and you should. When people come in with that, a lot of people obviously are coming in bad faith. But there are plenty of people who are onlookers who see that bad faith commentary and think it's correct, especially if they see it over and over again. So yes, if you feel the need to correct that, then you can do that, you know? You need to pin all your positions in chat and never talk about it again. Yeah, that's really funny because chatters can't even read the fucking title of the stream. Chatters can't read any of the pinned comments on the stream. Chatters refuse to read in general. So pinning that somewhere is not going to be helpful at all. But yeah, these people are gross. If you are pro-Israel, you're gross. Sorry, you're a bad person. And I expect you to stoop to incredibly silly new lows. That's it. Wasn't there an effort post somewhere? Yes. And I also posted one on my YouTube page as well, many, many months prior to all of the new but old clip chimps. Where were we? Let's continue. This isn't a joke. Trump and MAGA are openly pushing for a dictatorship. Let's take a look.
I am the campaign lead for the third term project. So our stated...
Do you think the shift towards the right will continue or reverse? Let's take a look at what maybe we can make this assessment.
Goal is to ensure that President Trump can get the third term that we believe the public demands that he receive. Representative Andy Ott.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to say is, like, pay attention to what certain content creators pay attention to. Okay? If they claim that, let's say, they're combating anti-Semitism, okay, and then their commentary features virtually zero attention to places where anti-Semitism is thriving, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Kick, or even massive content creators and their communities on Twitch. But instead, they're focusing on someone who, like myself, has actively combated anti-Semitism for a decade plus, okay? Then they're not serious people. They're trying to use this in a very cynical way to, one, get some drama points, and two, to attack a person because they've designed this person as their own fucking personal villain that is responsible for all of the wrong things that are happening in their lives. That's it. If you are hyper-focusing in this moment where Donald Trump and Elon Musk are ripping through the federal government, if you're hyper-focusing on the largest progressive content creator on this platform and across the board, and that is the only thing, that is the only person you are making your enemy, that you're branding as your enemy, then yeah, you don't care about anything. You just want to fucking make the existing liberal or somewhat progressive audience members that you have despise someone like myself because of your own personal petty agenda. That's it. Yeah. You just want to dominate. And it's not going to work. And the more it doesn't work, the more you fucking lose your mind. I would go so far as to say a similar thing played out historically with liberals as well. Liberals did not want to align with the communists against the growing fascist threat, and they actually capitulated to the fascists. You know?